Every year, starting about the middle of February, there's a good deal of anxiety and apprehension among owners of the better class of country house throughout England, as to who will get Bertram Wooster's patronage for the Easter holidays. It may be one or it may be another. As my Aunt Dahlia says, you never know where the blow will fall. This year, however, I had decided early. It couldn't have been later than February the 20th when a sigh of relief went up from dozen stately homes, as it became known that the short straw had been drawn by Sir Reginald Witherspoon, Bart of Bleaching Court, Upper Bleaching, Hants. In coming to the decision to give this Witherspoon my custom, I have been actuated by several reasons, not counting the fact that, having married Aunt Dahlia's husband's younger sister Catherine, he is by way of being a sort of uncle of mine. All these reasons counted with me, but what really drew me to Bleaching Court like a magnet was the knowledge that young Tuppy Glossop would be among those presents. I feel sure that I have told you before about this black-hearted bird, but I will give you the strength of it once again, just to keep the record straight. He was a fellow, if you remember, who, ignoring a lifelong friendship in the course of which he had frequently eaten my bread and salt, lectured me one night at the drones that I couldn't swing myself across a swimming bath by the ropes and rings, and then, with almost inconceivable treachery, went and looped back the last ring, causing me to drop into the fluid and ruin one of the nattiest suits of dress clothes in London. To execute a fitting vengeance on this bloke had been the ruling passion of my life ever since.
But ho, Jeeves, packing.
Yes, sir.
Pack on. Pack, Jeeves, pack with care. Pack in the presence of the passenger. Troll. You are bearing in mind, Jeeves, the fact that Mr. Glossop will be out bleaching,
Yes, sir.
and consequently are not forgetting to put in the giant squirt,
No, sir.
nor the luminous rabbit.
No, sir.
Good. I'm rather putting my faith in the luminous rabbit. I hear excellent reports on it on all sides. You wind it up and put it in someone's room during the night watches, and it shines in the dark and jumps about, making odd squeaking noises the while. The whole performance being, I should imagine, well calculated to scare young Tuppy into a decline.
Indeed, sir.
Should that fail, there is always the giant squirt. We must leave no stone unturned to put it across the man somehow. The Wooster honor is at stake.
Yes, sir.
Oh, I'll answer it. I expect it's Aunt Dahlia. She phoned that she'd be calling this morning.
Mr. Bertram Wooster,
Yes, my young man, the very one.
a telegraph for you.
Thank you. A 1B communication has arrived
Indeed, sir.
from Mr. Glossop, handed in at Upper Bleaching. The message runs as follows. When you come tomorrow, bring my football boots, also, if humanly possible, Irish Water Spaniel. Urgent regards, Tuppy. What do you make of that, Jeeves?
Well, sir, I interpret the document to mean that Mr. Glossop wishes you, when you come tomorrow, to bring his football boots. Also, if humanly possible, an Irish Water Spaniel. He hints that the matter is urgent, and he sends his regards.
Yes, that's how I read it too, but why the football boots?
Well, perhaps Mr. Glossop wishes to play football, sir.
Yes, that may be the solution, but why would a man staying peacefully at a country house suddenly develop the craving to play football?
I could not say, sir.
And why an Irish Water Spaniel?
There again, sir, I fear I can offer no conjecture.
What is an Irish Water Spaniel?
A water spaniel of a variety bred in Ireland.
You think so?
Yes, sir.
Well, perhaps you're right, but why should I sweat about the place collecting dogs of whatever nationality for young Tuppy? Does he think I'm Santa Claus? Does he think my feeling towards him after the Drones Club incident are those of kindly benevolence? Irish Water Spaniels, indeed. Pshaw.
Sir?
Pshaw, Jeeves.
Very good, sir.
Our busy morning, Jeeves.
Yes, sir.
Oh, all right, I'll go.
Bertie, I've come about that young hound Glossop.
It's quite all right, Aunt Dahlia. I have the situation well in hand. The giant squirt and the luminous rabbit are even now being packed.
I don't know what you are talking about, and I don't for a moment suppose you do either. If you'll kindly stop dribbling, I'll tell you what I mean. I have had a most disturbing letter from Catherine about this reptile. Of course, I haven't breathed a word to your cousin Angela, She'd hit the ceiling.
Why would Angela hit the ceiling?
Well, wouldn't you if you're practically engaged to a fiend in human shape and somebody told you he had gone off the country and was flirting with a dog girl?
What was that once again?
A dog girl, one of these dashed open-air flappers in thick boots and tailor-made tweeds who infests the rural district and go about the place followed by packs of her sweaty dogs. Her name is Dogleash, old Colonel Dogleash's daughter. They live near Bleaching.
Then that must be what his telegram was about. He's just wired. Asked me to bring down an Irish water spaniel. No doubt a present for this girl.
Probably. Catherine tells me he seems to be infatuated with her. She says he follows her about like one of her dogs, looking like a tame cat and bleating like a sheep.
Quite the private zoo, what?
Bertie, one more crack like that out of you, and I shall forget that I am your aunt and hand you one.
I shouldn't worry. There's probably nothing in it. Whole thing no doubt much exaggerated.
You think so, eh? But just before he went to Bleaching, he and Angela quarreled.
They did?
Yes, I got it out of Angela this morning. She was crying her eyes out, poor angel. It was something about her last hat. As far as I could gather, he told her it made her look like a picnic, and she told him she never wanted to see him again in this world or the next, and he said righto and breezed off. I can't see what has happened. This dog girl has caught him on the rebound, and unless something is done quick, anything may happen. So place the facts before Jeeves and tell him to take action the moment you get down there.
Jeeves' services will not be required. I can handle this business. It is my intention to insert the luminous rabbit in his room at the first opportunity that presents itself. The luminous rabbit shines in the dark and jumps about, making odd squeaking noises. I anticipate that a single treatment will have him retire into a nursing home for a couple weeks or so, in which time he'll have forgotten all about the Valley Girl.
Bertie, you're the abysmal chump. Listen to me. It is simply because I am fond of you and have influence with the lunacy commissioners that you weren't put in a padded cell years ago. Bungle this business and I withdraw my protection. Can't you understand this thing is far too serious for any fooling about? Angela's whole happiness is at stake. Do as I tell you. Put it up to Jeeves.
Just as you say, Aunt Dahlia.
All right then. Do it now.
Jeeves, you do not need to pack the luminous rabbit.
Very good, sir.
Nor the giant squirt.
Very good, sir.
They have been subjected to destructive criticism, and the zest has gone. Oh, and Jeeves.
Sir?
Mrs. Travers wishes you, on arriving at Bleaching Court, to disentangle Mr. Glossop from a dog girl.
Very good, sir. I will attend to the matter and will do my best to give satisfaction.
That Aunt Dahlia had not exaggerated the perilous nature of the situation was made clear to me on the following afternoon. Jeeves and I drove down to Bleaching and were tooling along about halfway between the village and the court, when suddenly there appeared ahead of us a sea of dogs, and in the middle of it, young Tuppy frisking round one of those largish, corn-fed girls. He was bending towards her in a devout sort of way, and when I came closer and noted that the girl wore tailor-made tweeds and thick boots, I had no further doubts. You observe, Jeeves.
Yes, sir.
The girl what?
Yes, sir.
Sinister Jeeves. You noticed the subject was looking like a stuffed frog.
Yes, sir.
I think Aunt Dahlia's fears are justified. The thing seems serious.
Yes, sir.
Well, strain the brain, Jeeves.
Very good, sir.
Hello.
Hello,
Who was that girl?
Miss Dogleash.
Staying here.
No, she lives in the house right before you come to the gates of this place. Did you bring my football boots?
Yes, Jeeves has got them somewhere.
And the water spaniel?
Sorry, no water spaniel.
Dash nuisance. She set her heart on the water spaniel.
Well, what do you care?
I wanted to give her one.
Why?
Colonel and Mrs. Dogleash have been extremely kind to me since I got here. They have entertained me. If someone asks you to lunch and tea or whatnot, they appreciate it if you give them something in return.
Why don't you give him the football boots? In passing, why'd you bring the bally things?
I'm playing in a match next Thursday.
Down here.
No, Upper Bleaching versus Hockley-cum-Meston. Apparently it's the big game of the year.
How'd you get roped in?
I haven't mentioned that I play on Saturdays when in London, and Miss Dogleash seemed extremely keen on me helping her village.
Which village?
Upper Bleaching, of course.
Ah, so you're gonna play for Hockley.
You needn't be funny, Bertie. You may not know it, but I'm pretty hot stuff on that football field. Oh, Jeeves.
Sir?
Mr. Wooster tells me you have my football boots.
Yes, sir. I have put them in your room.
Thanks.
Mr. Glossop is going to play on Thursday.
So I was informed in the servants' hall.
Oh, what's the general feeling there about it?
My impression, sir, was that the servants' hall considers Mr. Glossop ill-advised.
Why is that?
I'm informed by Mr. Mulready, Sir Reginald's butler, sir, that this contest differs in some respects from the ordinary football game. Owing to the fact that there has existed for many years considerable animus between the two villages, the game is conducted, it appears, on somewhat looser and more primitive lines than is usually the case when two teams meet in friendly rivalry. The primary object of the players, I am given to understand, is not so much to score goals as to inflict violence.
Good Lord, Jeeves.
Such appears to be the case, sir. The game is one that would have great interest to the antiquarian. It was first played during the reign of King Henry VIII, when it lasted from noon until sundown over an area covering several square miles. 7 deaths resulted on that occasion.
7.
Not inclusive of the 2 spectators, sir. In recent times, however, it appears the casualties have been limited to broken limbs and other minor injuries. It is the opinion of the servants' hall that it would be more judicious on Mr. Glossop's part were he to refrain from mixing himself up in the affair.
I was more or less aghast. Though I had made it my mission in life to get back at young Tuppy for that business at the drones, there are limits. I had no wish to see him toddle unsuspiciously into the arena and get chewed up by wild villagers. Obviously then, a kindly word of warning while there was still yet time was indicated. I buzzed off to his room forthwith and put him in possession of the facts.
What you had better do, and the servants' hall thinks the same, is fake a sprained ankle on the eve of the match.
You suggest that when Miss Dogleash is trusting me, relying on me, looking forward to, with girlish enthusiasm, to help her village on to victory, that I should let her down with a thud?
That's the idea.
Fa!
What do you mean, fa?
Bertie, what you told me makes me even more eager for the match. A warm game, that's what I want. I welcome on this sporting attitude. I shall enjoy a spot of roughness. Do you realize that she will be looking on? Do you know how that will make me feel? It will make me feel like some knight jousting under the eyes of his lady.
Don't forget that during the reign of King Henry
Never
VIII...
mind about the reign of King Henry VIII. Bertie, I may as well tell you that I am in love at last. This is the real thing. I have found my mate. How different she is from all these artificial London girls. Would they stand in the mud on a winter afternoon watching a football match? No. Would they tramp 10 miles across the meadow and come back as fresh as paint? No.
Well, why should they?
Bertie, I'm staking everything on this game on Thursday. Right now, I think she looks upon me as a weakling just because I got a blister on my foot the other afternoon and I had to take the bus from Hockley. But when she sees me going through the rustic opposition like a devouring flame, that will make her think of it. What?
What?
I said what?
So did I.
I mean, won't it?
Oh, rather.
Judicious inquiries during the next couple of days convinced me the servants' hall at Bleaching Court in advancing the suggestion that young Tuppy, born and bred in the gentler atmosphere of the metropolis, would do well to keep out of local disputes and avoid the football field in which these were to be settled, had not spoken idly. Feeling between the two villages undoubtedly ran high, as they say. You know how it is in these remote rural districts. Life tends to get a bit slow. There's nothing much to do in long winter evenings but listen to the radio and brood on what a tick your neighbor is. You find yourself remembering how Farmer Giles did you over the sale of your pig, and Farmer Giles finds himself remembering that it was your son, Ernest, who bunged the half-brick at his horse on that Saturday afternoon, and so on and so forth. How this particular feud had started, I don't know, but the only topic of conversation in Upper Bleaching was Thursday's game, and the citizenry seemed to be looking forward to it in a spirit that can only be described as ghoulish. I paid a visit to Hockley-cum-Meston on the Wednesday, being rather anxious to take a look at the inhabitants and see how formidable they were. I was shocked to observe that practically every second male might have been the village blacksmith's big brother. The muscles of their brawny arms were obviously strong as iron bands, and the way the company at the Green Pig, where I looked incognito for a spot of beer, talked about the forthcoming sporting contest was enough to chill the blood of anyone who had a power proposed to fling himself into the fray. It sounded rather like Attila and a few of his Huns sketching out their next campaign. I went back to Jeeves with my mind made up.
Jeeves, you're aware that I've suffered much at young Tuppy Glossop's hands. In my most unrestrained moments, however, I never wanted the poor blighter assassinated. We must act, and speedily, Jeeves. We must save young Tuppy in spite of himself.
What course would you advocate, sir?
I'll tell you. He refuses to do the sensible thing and slat out, because the girl will be watching the game. And he imagines, poor lizard, that he's going to shine and impress her. So we must employ guile. You will go up today in London, and tomorrow morning send down a telegram signed Angela, which will run as follows. Jot it down. Ready?
Yes, sir.
So sorry. What would a girl say, Jeeves, who, having a row with the bird she was practically engaged to, wanted to extend the olive branch?
So sorry I was cross would, I believe, be the expression.
Strong enough, do you think?
Yes, sir. Possibly the addition of the word darling would lend the necessary verisimilitude.
So sorry I was cross, darling. No, scratch that out. I see where we've gone off the rails. I see where we're missing the chance to make this the real Tabasco. Do not sign the letter Angela, but Travers.
Very good, sir.
Or rather, Dahlia Travers. This is the body of communication. Please return at once.
Immediately might be more economical, sir. Only one word, and it has a stronger ring.
True. Jot on then. Please return immediately. Angela in a hello state.
If I might suggest seriously ill, sir?
Alright, seriously ill. Angela seriously ill. Keeps calling for you and says you were quite right about Hat.
If I might suggest, sir,
Well, go ahead.
I believe the following would meet the case. Please return immediately. Angela is seriously ill. A high fever and delirium. Keeps calling your name piteously and saying something about a hat and that you were quite right. Please catch earliest possible train, Dahlia Travers.
That sounds alright.
Yes, sir.
You like that piteously? You don't think incessantly?
No, sir, piteously is the right word.
Alright, you know. Well, send it off to get here at exactly 2:30.
Yes, sir.
By then, he will have started for the ground. I will hand him the telegram when there is a lull in the battle. I can't imagine anyone sporting with those thugs I saw yesterday, not wanting any excuse to call it a day. You follow me?
Yes, sir.
Very good, Jeeves.
Very good, sir.
You can always rely on Jeeves. 2:30 I'd said, and 2:30 it was. I got there just as the two teams were lining up, and half a minute later, the whistle blew and the war was on. What with one thing and another, rugby football is a game I can't claim absolutely to understand in all its niceties, if you know what I mean. I can follow the broad general principles, of course. I know that the main scheme is to work the ball down the field somehow and deposit it over the line at the other end, and that, in order to squash this program, each side is allowed to put in its certain amount of assault and battery, and do things to its fellow man which, if done elsewhere, would result in 14 days without the option of parole. But there I stop. What you might call the science of the thing is to Bertram Wooster a sealed book. However, I am informed by experts that on this occasion there was not enough science for anyone to notice. There had been a great deal of rain in the last few days, and the going appeared to be a bit sticky. In fact, I have seen swamps that were drier than this particular bit of ground. The red-haired bloke from the pub paddled up and kicked off amidst cheers from the populace, and the ball went straight to where Tuppy was standing. Tuppy caught it neatly and hoofed it back. It was at this point that I understood that an Upper Bleaching versus Hockley-cum-Meston game had certain features not usually seen on the football field. For Tuppy, having done his bit, was just standing there, looking modest, when there was a thunder of large feet, and the red-haired bird, galloping up, seized him by the neck, hurled him to earth, and fell on him. I had a glimpse of Tuppy's face as it registered horror and dismay, and then he disappeared. After Tuppy wiped a fair portion of Hampshire out of his eye, he peered round him in a dazed kind of way, saw the action, and ran towards it, arriving just in time for a couple of heavyweights to gather him in and give him the mud treatment again. This placed him in an excellent position for a third heavyweight to kick him in the ribs with a boot like a violin case. The red-haired man then fell on him. I rather think that the men of Hockley-cum-Meston resented Tuppy's being on the field at all. They felt that, as a non-local, he had butted in on a private fight and had no business there. It was beginning to look as though the telegram would come too late to save a human life, when an interruption occurred. Play had worked round close to where I was standing, and there had been the customary collapse of all concerned, with Tuppy at the bottom of the basket as usual. But this time, when they got up and started to count the survivors, a sizable cove in what had been a white shirt remained on the ground, and a hearty cheer went up from 100 patriotic throats as the news spread that Upper Bleaching had drawn first blood. The victim was carried off by a couple of his old chums, and the rest of the players sat down and pulled their stockings up and thought of life for a bit. The moment had come, it seemed to me, and I hopped over the ropes and toddled to where young Tuppy was scraping mud from his wishbone. His air was that of a man who had been passed through a wringer, and his eyes, what you could see of them, had a strange smoldering gleam. He was so crusted with alluvial deposits that one realized how little a mere bath would ever be able to effect. To fit him to take his place once more in polite society, he would certainly have to be sent to the cleaners. Indeed, it was a moot point whether it wouldn't be simpler just to throw him away.
Tuppy, old man.
Eh?
A telegram for you.
Eh?
I've got a wire here that came just after you left the house.
Eh? Careful what you're doing, you silly ass. I'm one solid bruise. What are you gibbering about?
A telegram has come for you. I think it may be important.
Do you suppose I have time to read telegrams now?
But this one may be frightfully urgent. Here it is. Oh my gosh, I've left it behind.
It doesn't matter.
But it does. It's probably something you have ought to read by now. Immediately, if you know what I mean. If I were you, I'd say a few words of farewell to the murder squad over there, and come back to the house right away.
Do you imagine that I would slink under her very eyes? Good Lord, and besides, I'm going to thoroughly disembowel that red-haired man. Do you notice how he keeps tackling me when I haven't got the ball?
Isn't that right?
Of course it's not right. Never mind. From now on, I assert my own personality.
I'm a bit foggy to the rules of this pastime, but are you allowed to bite him?
I don't know. I'll try and see what happens.
There's nothing like a bit of rest and what you might call folding of the hands for freshening up the shop-soiled athlete. The dirty work, resumed after this brief breather, started off with an added vim which it did one good to see, and the life and soul of the party was young Tuppy. You know, until this moment, if asked, I would have said that Tuppy Glossop was, on the whole, essentially a pacific sort of bloke, with little or nothing of the tiger of the jungle in him. Yet here he was, running to and fro with fire streaming from his nostrils, a positive danger to traffic. In the end, it wasn't Tuppy, but the red-haired bloke who did the dust-biting. After that, there was nothing in it. Upper Bleaching got the ball down at the Hockley end of the field, and then a kind of tidal wave poured over the line. And when the bodies had been removed and the tumult and the shouting had died, there was young Tuppy lying on the ball. And that, with the exception of a few spots of mayhem in the last 5 minutes, concluded the proceedings.
Oh, hello, are you back?
Yes, sir.
When did you get here?
Some little while ago, sir. Was it an enjoyable game, sir?
In a sense, Jeeves, yes. Replete with human interest and all that, if you know what I mean. But owing to a touch of carelessness on my part, I fear the worst has happened. I left the telegram at the house, so young Tuppy remained in action throughout.
Was he injured, sir?
Worse than that, he was the star of the game. Toasts, I imagine, are now being drunk to him at every pub in the village. So spectacularly did he play, so heartily did he joust, that I can't see the girl not being all over him. The moment they meet, she'll exclaim, "My hero," and fall into his bally arms.
Whiskey?
And soda.
Bring me one, Jeeves. A large one.
Very good, sir.
What's the matter?
Oh, nothing much. My faith in woman is dead, that's all.
It is?
You jolly well bet it is. Women are washed out, all of them. I see no future for the sex, Bertie. Blisters, all of them.
Even the dog's body girl?
If you want to know, she's the worst of the lot.
My dear chap.
Do you know what has happened?
What?
She wasn't there.
Where?
At the match, you silly ass.
Not at the match?
No.
Not among the eager spectators? But I thought the whole scheme of the thing was to...
What? So did I. My gosh. I sweat myself to the bone for her sake. I allow a mob of homicidal maniacs to kick me in the ribs and stroll about my face. And then I braved myself a fate worse than death, and I found out that she didn't even come to watch the game. She got a phone call from London, and he said that he had located an Irish water spaniel. And off she popped into her car, leaving me flat. I met her outside her house just now, and she told me. But all she could think about was how she went on the trip for nothing. Apparently, it wasn't an Irish water spaniel at all. It was just an ordinary English water spaniel. And to think that I fancied that I loved a girl like that. A nice life partner she would make. I'm through with women.
My cousin Angela's not the bad sort. Not altogether a bad egg if you look at her squarely. I always thought that she and you could...
Angela, don't talk to me about Angela. She's a hank of hair and a bone and an A1 scourge, if you want to know. She gave me the push. Yes, she did. Simply because I had manly courage to speak out candidly on that ghastly lid she was chump enough to buy. Made her look like a peak, and I told her made her look like a peak. And instead of admiring me for my manly courage, she bunged me out on the ear.
She did.
You jolly well bet she did, at 4:16 p.m. Tuesday the 17th.
By the way, old man, I found that telegram.
Which one?
The one that I was going to give you at the football game?
Oh, that one.
Yes, that's the one.
Well, let's have a look at the beastly thing.
Anything important?
Bertie, my recent remarks on your cousin Angela, wash them out. Cancel them. Look at them as not said. I'll tell you, Angela is all right. She's an angel in human shape, and that's official. I've got to get to London. She's ill.
Ill?
High fever and delirium. Can I borrow your car?
Of course.
Thanks.
Mr. Glossop's gone, Jeeves.
Indeed, sir.
To London.
Indeed, sir.
In my car. To see my cousin Angela. The sun is once more shining.
Extremely gratifying, sir.
Was it you, Jeeves, who phoned to Miss What's-her-bally name about the alleged water spaniel?
Yes, sir.
I thought as much.
Yes, sir.
Yes, Jeeves. The moment Mr. Glossop told me that a mysterious voice phoned on the subject of Irish water spaniels, I thought as much. I knew it was you. I read your motives like an open book. You knew she would come buzzing up.
Yes, sir.
And you knew Tuppy would react. If there's one thing that gives a jousting knight the pip, it is to have his audience walk out on him.
Indeed, sir.
But, Jeeves,
Sir.
what will Mr. Glossop say when he meets Angela full of beans and delirious?
The point had not escaped me, sir. I took the liberty of ringing Mrs. Travers on the telephone. All will be in readiness for Mr. Glossop's arrival.
Jeeves, you think of everything.
Thank you, sir. In Mr. Glossop's absence, would you care to drink this whiskey and soda?
No, Jeeves, there's only one man who must do that, and it is you. If anyone has earned a refreshing snort, you are he. Pour it out, Jeeves, and shove it down.
Thank you very much, sir.
Cheerio, Jeeves.
Cheerio, sir, if I may use the expression.